Okay, we're going to finish section 9.5 today, and these are called complex fractions. What it basically is a fraction over a fraction. Okay? There's a trick to simplifying these. You multiply all terms by the common denominator and then cancel out all the denominators. So we find a common denominator between all the terms, all the denominators. And then we multiply each term by that common denominator, and what happens is it forces all the denominators to cancel, okay? It simplifies this because they're pretty scary and complicated looking to start out, okay? Once you cancel out all your denominators, then you just simplify, distribute if you need to distribute, combine any like terms if you need to combine any like terms, and you always want to try to put it back in factored form, okay? Because that's the only way you can see if things can cancel is if they're in factored form. All right? So let's jump right in and start looking at an example. Let's look at this first example. 3/4 minus x over 3 all over 1 over x. Okay, so let's look at what my denominators are. I have 4, I have 3, and I have x. What is going to be my common denominator between 4, 3, and x? What's the common denominator between 4 and 3? What's the least common multiple? 12. 12 is the least common multiple between 4 and 3, right? And then we still have an x. So 12x is going to be our common denominator. Does everybody see that? Okay. So we're going to multiply each term by 12x. So this is, multiply this by 12x. Okay? You can put it over 1 if you want. By 12x. Oh, sorry. And by 12x. Huh? We're multiplying everything by the common denominator. Okay? Now, let's simplify each one of these. Okay? Siri. Let's simplify each one of these. Now, what's going to happen is all my denominators are going to cancel. Okay? So, my x and x right here, they cancel. So, all I'm left with at the bottom is what? 12, right? All I'm left with is 12 because my x is canceled. All right? Now, up here, my x's don't cancel, but I have 3 and I have 12. What is 12 divided by 3? 4. That's 4, right? So this cancels, leaving me with just 4. My 12 divided by 4 is what? 3. So this cancels, leaving me with just 3. So on the top, let's clean this up. What am I left with? 3 times 3, which is 9, minus x times 4 times x, which is 4x squared. Now, this is a lot nicer to look at than all of this. Yes. Good catch. Yes, there would be an x after the 9. So we have 3 times x times 3. So it's 9x. Very good. So this is a lot nicer to look at than all of this. Okay? So now all we have to do is simplify that. We can factor a greatest common factor out of the top, right? What is my greatest common factor in the top? X. And then what am I left with? 9 minus 4x over 12. I can't simplify that any further. That's it. That's my answer. Questions? Okay? Let's do the second one. Yes. Okay. My denominator on top is just what? It's just 4 over 1, right? Because that's just a whole number. So that's just 4 over 1. So all I really need to look to figure out my common denominator is these two. What is my common denominator? It's just 5a. It's just 5a. So we're going to multiply everything by 5a, by 5a, by 5a, and by 5a. And it's okay to do this because when we're dealing with fractions, remember what we were talking about earlier. If you multiply the top and bottom by the same thing, you didn't change the fraction. So we're multiplying the top and the bottom both by 5a. That's all we're doing. Okay? And so on top now, what I'm left with is 20a over. What happens to these 5s? That's what has to happen. That denominator better cancel, or you didn't pick the right common denominator. And so all I'm left with is 2 times a, which is just 2a. And then what happens to these a's? They cancel. So all I'm left with is 1 times 5, and that is just 5. So 2a plus 5. I don't have anything else that I can factor. So I'm done. Okay, let's look at this one. Get it written down. If it makes you feel comfortable, put everything in parentheses so that you can actually see what factors you're looking at. Okay, so I need to figure out what my greatest common factor is. I mean, what my common denominator is. Yes. 3, what? 3x. Because what is my denominator right here? It's just 1, right? So my common denominator, I have an x, I have a 3, and I have a 1. So my common denominator is just 3x. So I multiply everything by 3x. So by 3x, by 3x, and by 3x. Okay? So let's simplify this. Now, on the bottom, I just have 3x times x plus 3. I'm going to leave it in factored form and hope that maybe something will cancel with it after I'm done simplifying the top. Now, on the top, my x's, what happens to them? They cancel, and I'm just left with 3 times 9, which is 27. And then my 3's cancel, and I'm just left with x times x plus 3. Don't forget about the plus in between, okay? And so now what? What do I have to do on top? Distribute the x. I have to distribute the x so that I can combine into like terms. Okay? So I'm going to multiply both of those by x. So now I have 27 plus x squared plus 3x all over 3x times x plus 3. Now, for my numerator, I'm going to put that in descending order so that I can check to see if it can be factored. Because right now, I can't do the AC method until I really know what A, B, and C are. Okay? So I have, this is the same thing as x squared plus 3x plus 27 all over 3x times x plus 3. Okay? And so, can the top be factored using the AC method? The only factors of 27 are 9 times 3. And if I multiply 9 times 3, when I combine them, I'm never going to get 3. Right? So the top can't be factored, so you're done. Yes? Because I wanted to see, hopefully, this top would have factored, and then I could have canceled something out with the factors on the bottom. But once you determine that it can't be factored, you could distribute this 3x on the bottom. And sometimes the answer choices, they might be in standard form or they might be in factored form. Right now, the top is in standard form and the bottom is in factored form. So you have to look at those multiple choice answers and see which form they're in. Because if that bottom is, if the answers have this 3x distributed out, then you need to be able to recognize that. Okay, because this is the same thing as x squared plus 3x plus 27 over 3x squared plus 9x. Those two answers are the same answer. This one is just the 3x distributed. Okay? And I believe on that, on the answer document for your quarter exam review, all of the answers are in standard form. They're not in factored form. So don't freak out if you get to this point and the answer doesn't match. Try distributing and then see if it matches. Okay? But you always have to distribute on top so that you can combine your like terms. Okay? Any questions? I want you to try this one. Remember to put your terms in parentheses so that you keep it nice and neat, and also helps you to figure out what your common denominator is. Okay, so on top, now in every single one of these, all of your denominators should have canceled. Okay, so on top, I just have x times x, which is x squared, over, now in this term, I just have x times 1, which is just x, plus, because of this plus right here, and then we have 2 times x plus 2. Right? I'm going to distribute on the bottom now because I see that I'm going to have some like terms that I need to combine. So this is equal to x squared over x plus 2x plus 4. Everybody with me? X plus 2x is what? 3x. So this is equal to x squared over 3x plus 4. And that's it. I can't do anything else. That is simplified. Okay. Let's do the next one. Now, remember, when you see them on your paper, they're not going to put the parentheses around all your groups, around all your expressions. I do that on my own. So this is m plus 6, m plus 6, m minus 2. Now remember, this is your big fraction. Okay? So look at all three denominators and then decide, what does your common denominator have to be? What can you force all three of those to be? So I'm going to multiply everything by m plus 6 times m plus 2. Okay. Now we cancel out our denominators. So this m plus 6 cancels out with that, right? So on top, all I'm left with is m times m plus 2. Right? This m plus 6 cancels with this m plus 6. So all I'm left with right here is m squared times m plus 2. Plus Don't forget about this plus. This cancels with this. So I'm left with m plus 6 times m plus 6. Now it's a matter of distributing and combining like terms. That's all it is from here on out, is just simplifying. Distributing and combining our like terms. So, on the top, m times m is m squared plus 2m. Right? On the bottom, I have m to the third plus 2m squared. And then I need to multiply that out. Okay? We would distribute that or use FOIL, right? Yes? M plus 6 times m plus 6. Okay? I'm here to tell you that once you multiply those out, you'll end up with m squared plus 12m plus 36. Okay? So you would take this off to the side and distribute that properly. Yes? Okay? So let me do it. M plus 6 times m plus 6. What do we distribute first? First we distribute the m. So this is equal to m times m plus 6. What do we distribute the next?
6.
The 6. So that's plus 6 times m plus 6. So that's m squared plus 6m plus 6m plus 36. So that's m squared plus 12m plus 36. Okay? And so that's what this is, whenever you distribute that properly. Okay? That's where we got that. But I put it in the wrong place. Okay. So that was plus m squared plus 12m plus 36 was in our denominator. So now all we need to do is combine our like terms in the denominator and we're finished. We don't have another m to the third, so it's just m to the third. 2m squared plus m squared is plus 3m squared plus 12m plus 36.